Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you have your backups ready, especially if you live in one of the lower 48 states that's going to be affected with temperatures, ladies and gentlemen, that are up to 78 degrees below normal. Before we get into this, let me go ahead and let you all know that today I will not be having a live stream. I may have to rejuggle our live stream days because on Fridays I've got something going on that's new. So we'll talk about that later on. I'm not sure if on Monday, this Monday coming up, the live stream with Grayman Prepping is going to be up as well. And that's because Grayman, I'm not sure those of you know or not, he's been very ill for the last couple of weeks or so. I spoke to him last Sunday and he had lost his voice pretty much completely, and he was just starting to regain his voice when I talked to him last Sunday. So I'll give him a call again this Sunday, see how everything is going, and if he's well enough, we'll go forward. If not, there's always next Monday as well. One last thing before we get into this, OUPES is having a great sale on solar generators. So if you're in the market for a solar generator, take a look at the link that I'm going to leave in the description of this video and a pinned comment. It's a great sale if you haven't taken part in any of their previous sales as well. And I will be working on a news compilation video for tomorrow, Saturday, so be on the lookout for that. I'm not sure if I'm going to have it set as a premiere or not. However, it'll be out sometime tomorrow, hopefully in the morning, Saturday that is. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we could take this opportunity to make fun of those people that talk about global warming and how they say, oh, it's global warming that's causing this cold. But in all reality, this is very serious, especially if you live in one of those states in the lower 48s and parts of Canada that are going to be getting temperatures that are up to 78 degrees below normal for this time of year. So yeah, it's easy to make fun of people saying this or that, but in all honesty, make sure that you have backups to your backup, because this is not a joke. And I've shown you, ladies and gentlemen, that it is survivable. I've done a couple of videos where I camp out overnight outside. The first time, I believe it got up to like negative 18 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit outside where I stayed out. And the last one that I did, I was experimenting with the cheapest tent that I found on Amazon. And although it didn't get that cold that night, it got up to like 18 or 17 degrees Fahrenheit above zero, or negative 7 or negative 8 degrees Celsius. It was still a nice night, ladies and gentlemen, because I had the proper equipment. So as long as you have the proper preparations for whatever event that's going to occur, you're going to be okay compared to those that didn't even care about preparing. Now, I don't know if you've heard about this yet or not, but it says that a major global cooling event is about to sweep the United States, with meteorologists expecting temperatures. This is even colder than what I've ever experienced where I live, all the way down to negative 50 degrees. And I do believe that they're talking about Fahrenheit, because that's here in the US and we use Fahrenheit in some parts of the West and Midwest. A so-called polar vortex or Arctic blast will reportedly roll down from Alaska and the far north into the Pacific Northwest in the coming days. So wow, even Washington is going to get hit with pretty wild weather. It will then move down to central and Midwest portion of the country over the following 5 to 10 days, according to meteorologist Ryan Mao. And ladies and gentlemen, for the next 5 to 10 days, you need to be on your game. Make sure that you're thinking, what will I do if my furnace runs out? All right, or it turns off and I can't turn it back on? What will I do if I lose electricity? Wool is great, I've found out, at insulating. So do you have some wool blankets? Go to the Army surplus store if you have one near you and get some cheap tents. Get some cheap stuff that you can use to insulate your body. Insulate a small tent that maybe you can put in the middle of your living room if for some reason you lose power and you lose heat. Because a small tent in the middle of your living room covered in wool blankets, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, because I did it outside, that it will keep you warm enough to survive the night. The National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center says that the cold blast will really make its presence known late next week, bringing with it temperatures that in some areas will be a full 78 degrees lower than normal for this time of the year. Wow, that is going to be incredible. It's going to be something to look back at and see what we can learn from it, ladies and gentlemen. And they say that an ongoing stratospheric warming event over the North Pole is taking the blame for this threat as it is displacing the polar vortex and sending all that very cold air down into the lower 48. I'm waiting until they say that it's because of global warming that we're getting this cold air. I digress, ladies and gentlemen, just playing. Some areas will receive freezing rain while others will get dumped with lots of snow. One silver lining is a forming ridge in the southeast that could end up containing the cold air to the western half of the United States. If the Arctic blast arrives as planned, it could be comparable to the cold weather disaster of Storm Uri in February 2021. I believe they're talking about Texas, that left more than 4 million Texans without electricity or heat for a record 70.5 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, for goodness sakes, get prepared for this. Even if you don't live in the direct affected area, get prepared for this just in case. You never know if the weather pattern may shift or not, and it gets you. In that storm, a shocking 365 generators were knocked offline, leaving much of Texas with no power. Because the Lone Star State is ill-equipped for such weather events, it ended up being one of the worst disasters in the state's history. Described as the greatest forced blackout event in U.S. history, the Texas disaster highlighted the need for a more robust grid management system all across the country. And plus, our grid, ladies and gentlemen, our electrical grid, that is, it's ancient. It hasn't really been kept up. And they say that the storm is also bringing with it a huge snowstorm in the northeast that has already dumped at least 15 inches of snow on the Hudson Valley. Travel along the upper east coast and chaotic and limited in some areas. New York's Orange County received over a foot of snow in some areas, though Central Park in the city only reported about 0.2 inches of snowfall. The Big Apple has now officially gone almost 700 days straight without at least 1 full inch of snow on the ground. Wow, I didn't know that. Isn't that something? The following snow accumulations elsewhere in New York were reported by the NWS, National Weather Service, I believe is that what NWS stands for. And just take a look. Port Jervis, 13 inches, 12 inches, 12 inches. Pretty much a foot everywhere that they've mentioned, ladies and gentlemen. At least 164 flights were canceled at Boston Logan International Airport in Massachusetts because of the storm. Amtrak also announced modifications to its train service scheduled due to the storm. And they say that due to the forecasted storm, cancellations are expected. So if you have a flight that you're going to take from point A to point B, call the airport first and ask them, hey, has that flight been canceled? Or go on your app or whatever. Me, ladies and gentlemen, personally, I would not be wanting to travel at all. I'd be wanting to hunker down with my family at home, making sure that they're safe, making sure that we have our backups taken care of. And this person here, Jonathan Porter, warned that all over New England, including in upstate New York and parts of Pennsylvania, they can expect snow to fall at a rate of at least 1 inch per hour. That is a lot of snow, which will make it difficult for road crews to keep up with plowing it. Again, ladies and gentlemen, get prepared for this if you live in one of the areas that are going to be affected, even if you don't, and just prepare to hunker down for several days. Remember, you need to keep warm. What is it that you're going to do to make sure that your furnace continues to go even if you lose electricity? Try to get those systems in place now before you actually need to get them in place, because it's too late. And they finish off by asking, do you think the world is in a state of climate change? The world is always in a state of climate change. The climate changes every single day, every single minute, ladies and gentlemen. And in my opinion, as humanity, it doesn't matter what we do. What's going to happen is going to happen. The question is this: are you prepared? Are you prepared in case something happens that's out of your control? That way you can continue to live the standard of living that you're used to. So if this time of the year you're used to having heat, can you continue to do that if you lose electricity? Having said that, I hope that you take heed to the warning. The best of luck to all of you that live in those affected areas, and to everyone else, in hopes that the weather that they've predicted doesn't shift to your area that had no predictions of that weather at all, because you never know what's going to happen. Remember, the climate changes all the time. Other than that, again, I hope that you have a great weekend. Remember that we don't have a live stream today, and we will have a news roundup video for tomorrow on Saturday. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.